Greetings, greetings. Can you hear or see me?
We can
Welcome to
hear you.
South
You
Rising.
frozen.
And yes,
You definitely
What?
frozen. We can hear you.
Oh no, not the time for this kind of Wi-Fi issue. Okay, well, welcome to South Star Classroom. If you can hear me, this is episode 234, Less School, Same Learning, the 180-day debate.
Oh, now you're muted. So well, we're having some technical difficulties, but while she gets set up and gets that going and we can reset the episode, how's everybody doing, man? It's been a while. I just got back in town. Just, check-ins, man. How you doing, David? Omar, you up? But
the doc, man. Dude, things are kind of looking up. There's a massive and fundamental shift that we're going to be doing in the next few years with EPLA that I'm extremely excited about. It's been years in the making. It's been a lot of heartache, difficulty, toil, sadness, depression. My God, man, like all of the emotions, but we're kind of finally coming into a really good spot where all of this can come to fruition. Same thing with me personally, man. I think I've been struggling with all of this, and I think it's finally kind of coming out rainbows at this point. Hopefully.
Oh, rainbows.
Looking forward to some, man. Looking forward to some trips, professional and personal, in the next few months, which is always nice. Always nice to get out. But the big news, ladies and gentlemen, that I want to share with folks, and Doc, you'd find this funny, and same with David. Cool story. There's a phenomenal musician named Jim Ward here in El Paso. Badass dude. I don't know if you know this cat, David. He started at the drive-in with a bunch of other cats from El Paso. And if you don't know, at the drive-in is a really famous, very prolific kind of progressive punk band. They headlined Coachella, for God's sakes, like that level of famous.
Wow.
And when At the Drive-In broke up, they made two different bands. Jim kind of went his way and created a band called Sparta. And Omar and Cedric went on and made Mars Volta, both phenomenal bands.
I've heard of Mars Volta. So, I get you.
Yeah, man. Pride of El Paso. Well, yeah. Jim, who's kind of come back to El Paso and has been investing a lot in the community, got Coldplay to come play the Sun Bowl. And that was like a big deal. And no one thought it was going to go well. But Jim had a lot of faith, and Coldplay made one of their very few Texas destinations the Sun Bowl, which is where the Utah Miners play. And they sold out both of those shows. And it proved to everybody, holy smokes, there's a massive market in El Paso. Because Doc, David, I don't know if you know this, but like we don't get shit. Like El Paso is the town that gets like forgotten, skirted over. No one comes here. We don't get shows. We're shit on. It's always like Austin, Houston, Dallas, never El Paso. Well, as a result of Jim Ward, as a result of the success of BTS made one of their only Texas stops here in El Paso.
I saw that.
2 shows, Saturday and Sunday. I didn't go because it's not my particular brand of ice cream, but both super sold out. And it just caused massive like chaos around the country. Because, dude, all the flights to El Paso were like sold out. People were getting offered $2,000 for their seats to get to El Paso. No rental cars, no places to stay. Like our infrastructure couldn't handle this like level of excitement. People coming in from Georgia to come see BTS in El Paso. Long story short, man, super sold out. A massive, massive success for El Paso. And it just goes to show you, like, there's a lot of like people here that are excited about those opportunities and for culture and for all that stuff. And it's just like, it just means like, this is great for the economy of El Paso. It's brought in hundreds of millions of dollars into our local economy, which like we need. We're a pretty low income town. So it was pretty badass. And in related news, Post Malone and Jelly Roll canceled their El Paso show because I don't think anyone's interested in seeing Jelly Roll and Post Malone these days.
Yeah. How many of these, what percentage, in your opinion, of attendees to like the BTS or the the concert came from south of the border?
Oh, dude, 40.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's how the big concerts are here too. Yep.
Easy.
They're actually like international events.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, Coldplay was like Puro Mexicano, BTS, like massive from Chihuahua, from Sonora, from Juarez. Like, dude,
that's crazy.
And that's the thing that like people don't understand, that we try to explain to everybody. So IKEA was like, yeah, we want to come in. We've looked at it. El Paso's poor. And we're like, you're not factoring in a
big picture
that's coming in from this regional economy. Like, you guys have not done the research. This is a regional economy. There is tons of money from Juarez and Chihuahua and all over the place. Like, you guys are underestimating this. And I think this is finally this statement that's like, look at this.
Yeah.
It is not just El Paso. There's a massive region here that is dying for this kind of opportunity and entertainment. Like, come invest in El Paso. It was a big deal.
The drug cartels saw the value in the El Paso Juarez region, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that they had a wonderful weekend.
Yeah.
With all the people here, man. I'm sure they made a pretty penny. So I just thought, like, you guys always have these like fun things to say during check-in, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is pretty fun.
That's what's up. I like Jelly Roll. I actually think I like both those cats actually, but
I like both those guys too. But
I know Post is getting a little slack because he's not rapping as much anymore. But I mean, if people in rap was like, well, you don't belong here, leave, and then you leave, then it's like, well, I don't know, but I get it though, man. I understand. That's what's up. How you doing, David?
I'm good. Nothing exciting like Omar has going on, but so I don't really have too much more to add. But I did hear that the Sri Lankan artist known as MIA was kicked off of the Kid Cudi tour for making some kind of anti-immigrant rant at a Dallas show. I'm like, you were born in Sri Lanka.
Anti-immigrant?
Born in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, she definitely got Kid Cudi kicked her off the tour. Yeah, I'm surprised he got this caught your radar. And she's probably gonna say it's because she was MAGA, and I don't think it's because she was MAGA. She was just
she was born in Britain.
She was wilding, but she was wilding out in her performance, and she has been kind of. Yeah, she was one of those people that was held up by the left, and very popular at a time, and then she went through some stuff, and is now kind of coming back, and I think she would have more sympathy of the people, but you can't go and she was calling people illegals in the damn show, like it was just a lot. And you a Brit, so it's with a Sri Lankan, it's a lot going on there.
Yeah, man,
it's a lot going on there. But we always connect on the music stuff. Before I throw it back to Jube and let her run her show, we had Oakland, and we put out our major report, which I have to do a better job of promoting. So I'll make sure I need to do that by the end. And then I left the country, but I got sick in Oakland, flew back to Chicago, was here for a day. And then flew to South America, flew to meet my brother and his friends in Colombia, but was sick. So still got to see them, got to have dinner with them and stuff like that. And then I was kind of in the room a lot, but I still got to enjoy it, still got to eat and walk around. Got back, just been nonstop busy. So it wasn't quite a vacation, but I got to do a little bit of work in beautiful Colombia, and Medellin is great. Like I said, Pablo is still a very, 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 very powerful man, and you could just feel certain things in that area, but it was beautiful, and there's a lot of history there, and it was really cool, man. And I'm I'm happy it worked out today. That we all four of us got to be here. So, Jube, you are back, and we got to get into your show.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for your patience and your support. All right, I have great news for my chicken. My child, my firstborn son, Sydney Judah Mosley, will be the 46th student member of the board for Prince George's County Public Schools.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
He
Yeah.
ran a campaign. He had his own campaign team. He strategized. He made speeches. He held his own in a town hall, 2 hours of live questions.
Wow.
2 hours unplanned live questions. And he held his own. He dealt with, negativity. He dealt with some people having lack of integrity, all the things that comes with being in politics.
So many people have a lack of integrity, man.
Yeah, I mean, and what are you going to do? Like, you still have to decide what your core values are and how you're going to run your race. And so, in as much as I'm so excited for his victory and for his upcoming school year, because he'll be a senior and he'll also be the SMOB, is what they call it, student member of the board. I'm even more excited that his character was built throughout the process. And it's just, I'm excited for him. And so he'll be sworn in on June 26th at 12 p.m. at the headquarters. And I'm uber excited for him. So yes, that's my good news. And that is my check-in. And thank you, David. such wonderful news. Okay. And now let's talk about today's topic. All right. So if we can cut a full day out of the school week and still call it a complete education, what does that say about how we've been using time all along, right? Couple of facts here, right? We've got the traditional 180-day school year, right, which is no longer a given. There are districts across the U.S. that are actively rethinking it. We are seeing some examples. Floresville ISD in Texas, they reduced the school days with a hybrid 4-day week. Southeast Warren CSD and River Valley CSD also moved to full 4-day weeks. Districts in Utah, like Pluke County, are already operating with flexible, shortened schedules. States are shifting from measuring days to measuring instructional hours, which allows for shorter weeks or compressed calendars. Yeah. And these changes are being driven more by system pressures, teacher burnout, staffing shortages, and budgets, and more by that than by strong academic evidence. And the trend is still mostly rural, but it is starting to expand into more districts across multiple states. And then at the same time, there are some trade-offs, potential impacts on student learning, family schedules, and how students spend time outside of school. So it's not just a calendar conversation. There's a deeper question about what we value in education and who the system is designed to serve, right? So that's how I want to kick it off for our school days, 180 school day debate. All right. So I want to kick it off with the first question. How did we get here? How do we get to a point where we're seriously questioning the length of a school year and what pressures in the system are driving that conversation? And then I'll ask the second part of the question, but how did we get here?
This is an inevitability. I think here's the question. The school day was predicated on a simple historical reason. Parents are working. What are kids going to do? So therefore, kids should be in school the hours that parents are in the workplace, except for that weird 3:30 to 5 o'clock hour. So this is how we're occupying the students' time. And this is how parents aren't having to, worry about their children when they're off at work. Kids are doing this, parents are doing this. Thus the 180 days. And then, the summer, well, historically, as we all know, was like, hey, man, you're out in the fields. Like, this is the agrarian system. Like, that's the predication of this whole system. So it's important to get to the why and why this was created. When we got into this like deep manufacturing component in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, the education system was predicated simply on getting kids into, hey, how do you read a manual good enough to understand how to run the assembly line? How do we make the school look like the assembly line? How do we give you at least the 6th grade education and then put you into the factory to work? And there is the complete coincidences. I'm joking. The correlation between you're in the school day for those 8 hours, you're in a factory for 8 hours. That factory reality is done in the United States. So you work 9 to 5 in a factory. Well, factory owners were like, work longer because then we can generate more product, because there was never any end to the work. These days, we're getting so much more into technology and project-based work, meaning like, hey, dude, if you can get this done in 2 hours, that's all that matters. Why do you need 8 hours if you can get it done in 2 hours? Why come to work 9 to 5 if you can get done what you need to get done in 2 hours? And don't give me any of this, and I'm going to keep it PG, Doc, BS, because we got Toya and everybody else on the slide. And don't give me this BS about, well, you need those 8 hours. Dude, every single study across every single like global entity has basically demonstrated people are just messing around for like 3 to 4 hours a day. Personal shopping, games, their productivity is really only about 2 to 3 hours anyways. So why shouldn't the school, Jubilee, start reflecting, not the messing around, but that concentration? Can we get done what we need to get done in 2 hours and then do a bunch of other really cool stuff that's going to give kids a fun skill set? Because the reality is, if you're, middle, upper middle class, higher class, you probably have the flexibility to pick up your kids after 3 hours and then put them in tennis camp or put them in here or put them in that. But for all of us who are low income, our parents rely deeply on having kids during that school day for food, for jobs, for timing. So this becomes more of a reality of, do we need this system? And what do we do with this system now that I think the world has changed on its needs?
Yep.
More questions than answers I got today,
Yeah. David.
Yeah, I think so like where we are in this moment and what I'm seeing a couple of things. I'm seeing mainly on the side of like the large I am seeing some innovation in how school happens and where and for how long, but these are like little pockets, like we talked about it last week. There are like innovations happening that aren't necessarily tied to 180 days or like seat time, the concept of seat time. However, what I'm seeing now is less about like an education reform or a design reform that's based on I won't go as far as to say like science, but I will say doing school in a different way that better meets the needs of modern society. What I'm seeing instead is an operational response to adults being stressed out. And I get it, right? Adults are tired. They don't, the 5-day work week, life has gotten harder coming out of COVID. And like, people are tired. I get it. But, just arbitrarily saying we're going to do a 3-day, because really what we're doing is a 3-day weekend. And so 4-day school week, 3-day weekend, like unless it's rooted in some kind of intentional design, I feel like we're just kind of like throwing up our hands and saying like we don't have any other creative solutions, and so we're just going to do it. And like we don't know how it's going to impact student learning. We don't really know like how children will be. I mean, think about like young kids, like what parents have to work 5 days a week, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in situations where, I was running organizations that where we were like getting a sense of like clear signals from our staff that like the work is too hard. Okay, well, let's sit down. Let's talk about what are the hard parts. What ideas do you have to make it feel more, what would you say, manageable? And then allow management to come back with a proposal. And so, we did such a thing. We created, long story short, we created more preparation time for our teachers.
Right.
So teachers had like 6 periods a day, or there were 6 in the day, 5 were with kids, and they had 1 prep. So we
Would
went
it be
from
better to do that on one day, like a Friday where they're doing that instead of having kids, or did you find that
that probably would have been the next iteration of
Wednesdays was for. I thought Wednesdays was for.
that too. But so we went from teachers working 5 preps, and then 1 planning period to 4 and 2. But we said we're going to measure student outcomes and see if there's a negative impact on student outcomes, we're going to go back to the other system. And we found resources to identify additional staffing. So the student schedule changed a little bit. The school day didn't get shorter, but we figured out how to make things work within the existing structure. But we didn't just say, okay, well then you take Fridays off or whatever. I feel like that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I was. What'd you say?
No, I'm saying, what you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything that the guy said. I think that the perspective too, I appreciate it because all 3 of y'all run schools are in that perspective and how you looking at it. I'm about to give you one from somebody that's not leading a school. People playing in your face. Like, we have some of the worst reading numbers that we've ever had since reading has been legal for everybody in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's been legal for everybody in this country, we have some of the worst reading numbers, and the solution that they propose, that is being proposed to you right now, America, is less days of school. like more shit for the adults that's working. Because guess what's not going to happen? I promise you that those salaries, the ones that are tenured, the ones that have union behind them, I promise you that not only will their salaries not go down, they will go up. So ostensibly, more money for doing less and worse work. I swear to God, every year we find better language and better words so we can have worse actions and worse jobs.
You sound like George Carlin.
This is stupid. And I get it. And if we were having this conversation at a competent school, if we're having this conversation at a school where people are excelling and we have rhyme and reason for making this decision, and we show where the other pluses are and where the minuses are, and we can actually have an adult conversation and it works for everybody, cool. But as a general blanket conversation, we are worse than we've ever been. Hey, coach, I know we are 0 for 80 for the basketball year, but guess what? What if we never practice? Like, what if we just never show up to our jobs? I don't think you're ever going to win a title. So parents, you need some agency. Parents, you need the South Star Classroom. This is why, because of conversations like this, these people are not thinking about your kids. They're thinking about their own time, their checks, their freedom, and what they want to be doing. Not the fact conversations are different if kids were centered first. Not how am I going to burden their parents some more. Not how am I not going to be better at teaching literacy and math and all these things. Not how are we going to be a country that's more prepared for China and Russia and our other enemies that are raising their kids to be dominant. No, we're not having those conversations. We're having union-led dumbass conversations not based in any form of reality. That's how I think we got here, Jude.
Oh man. Okay. So after I make my comment, we're going to go to the next question, which is, what should define a full education year? Should it be time? Should it be outcomes, or something else? Now, let me give you my 5 cents. I think I text y'all in the group chat that I sat with my child in his class and I wanted to pull out my eyeballs and roll them across to the front of the room just so I could have something to do.
Marbles, huh?
Like marbles, just so I could feel alive again, so I could feel engaged. This is not for lack of trying on the teacher's part or anything, but I think we are so far away from what high quality instruction looks like as a nation. And so I thought to myself, if my kid got up and was like, "Ma, I cannot even do it no more," and he walked out the class, I probably would have clapped.
Yeah.
I would have been like, look at the agency that Charles is talking about. He's leaving. He's standing up for his rights to not be bored and pass out in class and not finish an assignment in the first 15 minutes with no direction, with no engagement, with no rigor, and forced to kind of put his head down because there's nothing else to do in a 90-minute section of English. I say all that to say, do we want more of that? And like, is it the 100 day versus the 169 day? Or is it the fact that we haven't figured out how to maximize and optimize the time we have? So now, because we haven't figured out how to maximize the time and make it work and push out students that are able to read and write, right, and engage with rigorous conversation and dialogue and writing and all of that. Now it's like, well, do we need 180 days? I guess maybe we can, because it's not cutting it, right? So I think that's also part of how we got there, because maybe years ago, Charles, to your point, this would have been a non-negotiable. You know, school is cool, crack is whack, like stay in school, read a book. But now it's like, it's almost like we're falling down in our ratings in terms of relevance and capability. So I think that is in part how we got here. Next question: what should define a full education year? Is it time? Is it outcome? Is it something else?
Let me get out. You guys. Let me get out you guys' way. On this, David, because again, I'm deferring to you all more because all three of you lead schools or have had a principal role or higher, right? Like so I'm gonna be the lay person here. I will say this: I trust what you all have told me, right? You all have told me that it's 180 days. That's the formula that we have worked out, that John Dewey or somebody somewhere said, when the year is like this, this is how it needs to happen. Okay.
Horace Mann.
There you go. Right. And like we followed that. And for the most part, people have done well. They've done okay. There's been some inequities, but there's inequities in everything. I hear people about the boredom thing, and sure, right? But like, I don't know I think bricklayers can still lay brick, and I don't know if the training is like fun. Like, it's just certain parts of life that's just not gonna. Part of this is the problem. This kind of curtailing to we should be fun if you can be. That's a nice to have though, right? Like, stay with me, right? Like, you're going to school to learn. Now I sound like my grandmother when I used to get in trouble. You're not going to school to play with your little friends.
Congratulations, Charles.
Right? Like, because the woman's making so much sense now. And I hate to have to tell her that from the grave, because it's like, what are we talking about? I could see if we were thriving. I could see if we were growing. I could see if we saw all these shots and pockets. And I could see if we was racing to put people on the moon, and Russian kids and American kids are like, we want to be the next set of astronauts because we want to beat them Russians. We want to beat them Americans. Like math, like I'm just saying, like we used to be very proud of our academic and educational prowess. And we move further and further away from actual definitions of things. We move more away from like you have great math professors retiring because they're saying, I'm not making like, I can't make trigonometry better for you, dog. It's trigonometry. It's the laws of the universe. I don't know what you want me to tell you. You got to learn it.
Yeah.
But I'll land the plane and I'll get off here, because y'all are going to have a very technical conversation about hours and things that most of the public don't really know about, right? It's just not their concern. They don't really care. Like, they just want to make sure the thing is happening, right? Like, again, I don't need to hear my AV people talk about the ins and outs and working of like heating and air. I just need this shit to work. I didn't choose this job. You chose this job, so you need to go deal with that. But what I'm saying as a regular person, the sheer fact that there's a conversation of significantly cutting more instructional time when we suck at what we do, when we're at a time when you can't observe teachers, you can't criticize teachers, you can't tell people, hey, this is actually the fact or the truth of this thing. Everything is debatable. Well, maybe 5 times 5 isn't 25 if you're not feeling very 25ish today. I don't fucking know. What are we doing? So let the dumb person, let the dumb guy that's annoyed with it give his piece as the people and get out the way, because I do think what you all are about to say is very valuable, and I think it's smart from where y'all come from. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to honor the work that you all do, and you do it really well, and I think you all understand my disdain in general, but I just wanted to tee that up that way, because I'm gonna let y'all have a very honest, serious, professional conversation, but as a human, that's like, they're playing in your face, man. They're begging for more money and less work. And like, you should be annoyed, frustrated, and you should be a little upset if this is coming to you.
I would take two different sides on this one, man. On one end, I'm with you, Doc. Also, I just want to say that was a hell of a fantastic monologue. It sounded a little bit like John Slade from I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, where he's like, the people need me. The people are the ones who throw me out of the streets when I was trying to make things happen. And then he had some choice things to say.
Y'all have movies to go watch.
Like,
I love I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, man. You speak to my heart every single time, bro. As long as my toe ain't throbbing and this big.
Tell you, man, Black culture like lives, especially cinematic culture, like it's one of the most beautiful things that's ever happened to the United States, man, along with jazz. Like, God praise Black cinema in the 70s and the 80s, and continues to this day. And I mean that seriously, man. If it weren't for that, we wouldn't have the brilliance, the satire, the understanding that we have now. On that end, I'm with you, because I'm like, yo, to the teachers, to the unions, to all those people that are like, we want to do less and we want to get paid more. Like, yo, man, I've got a lollipop. It says "suck it" written on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, like Jubilee knows this. Jubilee's been in schools. Like, she was just in a school, but she's a genius when it comes to this stuff. She'll walk into a classroom for 3 minutes and know whether or not there's good instruction going on. Same with David. On the other end, here's something that I dealt with that I'll put out to you all. When we started EPLA, we really were playing a lot with timing and the calendar. Let's put on some more school days for more instruction. Let's make it a little bit longer for more instruction. And what Andrew and I realized was a very, very simple lesson. More time does not correlate with better instruction. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes what it correlates, Doc, is just more crappy instruction. So the crappy instruction that was going on for 6 hours is now just carrying on for 8 hours. And in fact, it's quite detrimental. So I would say synthesize two ideas. I want to pay teachers more. Always do, always have. Been writing about it for years, because I think when we pay teachers more, we get a bigger pool of talent, a bigger pool of people who wouldn't think about education coming into education, because it's like, man, I always wanted to do this, but I can pay the bills. And then you start eliminating all the skip, scap, scallywaps, the trick ass tricks and the mark ass marks from education altogether, who are wasting children's time, because then you get some brilliant educators who are like, yeah, what that person couldn't do in 8 hours, I can do in 2. So why hold these kids for so long if we can provide a more focused, more efficient, better education at a shorter amount of time, because it's done better? And that is what I have found. The answer is not more time. The answer is greater efficiency with less time equals significantly better results. But it's time that we clean house, man. We got to get rid of all these administrators, all these fat cats, all these lazy ass people, all these mark ass marks, all these tricksters. And like, better said than done, easier said than done. Because like, shit, dude, look at what's my girl's name that was out in DC?
Michelle Rhee.
Michelle Rhee, yeah, thank you. Dude, I'm with Michelle. And that was a tough situation that she had to learn for all of us on that end, man. She took a learning lesson in a big bad way for the rest of us about what cleaning house actually looks like, because it is such a difficult bureaucracy and there's so much pushback, and yet none of it is for the kids. So, man,
That's crazy. Yeah, Michelle Rhee. Wow.
More efficient, better people. I don't know what to do about how difficult the political stratosphere of this is. Maybe we just get Bill and unleash him in a building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, let me, Bill, brother. Like, let me just
let
get
him
you
loose.
the ISD headquarters, and let me just put you in there. I think it'll solve 80% of the issues. I'll come in like the Sandman after you and just sweep them out.
They'll be throwing bodies out the back door.
David,
I think this thing about like time, like what was the question was something about time. How do we define a full year of education? Right?
Yep.
So right now we're kind of bound by this whether it's like days or time. It's seat time. It's whatever. How I think in California it was like 64,800 minutes at one point.
Yes,
I remember that number. So every
5,600 minutes in Texas.
Yeah, so every state has their own calculation, but you have to submit your calendar and then your bell schedules, and the state does an audit to make sure that you're coming in where you are. And I'm with Omar too. We would often come in over. We never had the problem of being like, oh, we need to add more time. However, I would say one thing that we always did was we honored every single minute that our students were in the building and classrooms, right? And so whether it was a short day, a long day, you know, whatever it was, like when one of the schools that I worked at was kind of a hippy dippy, like Montessori program. And I've talked about this before. The first thing I did when I got there was I instituted like a very hard start time. I'm like, school starts at 8:15. You're not in the building in your classroom at 8:15, your child's late, period. Right. And parents revolted. They're like, how can you do this? And I was like, because that's when our time starts as adults. That's when our teachers start to do their work. And that means that teachers get to school no later than 7:45 to be ready. They're not rushing in the door at 8:10 or 8:15. And when that first bell rings, like, you know, Principal Castillo, Mr. C is like walking through classrooms and making sure that like learning is happening, like starting with your morning circle, your check-ins, going over the day's agenda. Like, we don't waste time. We from the time that school starts to the time that it ends. Yeah. But I have a parent story. I'll share with you quickly. I got a text from one of my son's teachers saying he was involved in an incident last week where there was an incident in the classroom and he got himself involved in an incident involving other students and administrators. It's like, okay, right? We've all heard this before. And so I, talked to the teacher, talked to him, and he essentially said that his teacher was out, so they had a sub. The classroom was incredibly chaotic. He said there were at least 10 kids. Once they figured out there was a sub in there, the kids started texting their other friends to come into the classroom. So they had at least 10 kids that were in the classroom that weren't enrolled to be in a particular period. And it was chaos. He said it was complete chaos. They finally figured out what was going on, sent in a bunch of administrators, pulled kids out. Omar, what are you doing in here? Charles, you're not supposed to be in here.
I don't even know that one, Mr. Oh, geez.
Yeah. So as an administrator is escorting Charles out of the classroom, my son says something like, bye-bye. That's all he said. That's all he said. And so I get a text, I get a notification.
You know, you're getting a call for that though. You know what that is.
I'm like, but where is the accountability? You have a sub that apparently doesn't know how to teach, has zero support. You have a system where you have kids that are in a classroom. That means those kids are absent from other classrooms, like zero communication on the back end, and it's pure chaos. But my kid says something smart and I get a phone call home. How about you train your subs? How about you make sure that, subs know exactly how many kids are in the room. You have a seating chart. So when the extra kids show up, they don't come in, right? All that stuff, man. I mean, I let it alone, but I'm like, talk about honoring instructional time, like zero honoring of instructional time, pure chaos. And I have a feeling a lot of that happens at my kid's school, and it's really upsetting to me as a parent. So I think the whole like seat time is the big like, compliance cluster F, that we've gotten ourselves into and we can't unwind ourselves from.
Right.
Even with like the strict, like there's no science that says it's going to take you 75,000 minutes in Texas or 70,000 in California, to learn a particular skill.
Yep.
No, especially with technology now, with AI, let's say like with the internet, with AI. I mean, kids can learn on their own. They don't even need school anymore for the most part. However, I think there's a critical role for school. I still value the human to human kind of, if teachers are doing it, engaging work with, engaging young people with one another, not kids in a classroom on Chromebooks because they can be home for that. I think there's an important social component to it also. And we haven't even touched on like athletics or the arts, these things, right? Which also should be happening in schools, music, education. But I think around the academic component, and this instructional time thing, we've definitely got to rethink it. We need to lift up the exemplars that are doing it. Bill mentioned earlier, one of the big picture schools in Oakland, the Met. It's happening out there, but it's like, how do you take what people see as a radical innovation? And maybe it's not a radical innovation, but it's radical because our brains are so like tied to the modern structures of what we believe school needs to look like.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like we've all been brainwashed to a certain extent. We all went through the system, right? We're like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah. I love saying this, and I'm coming back to you.
No, you're good. So I hate that it's just a short show. It's a great topic. It's a good thing. It's a really good thing.
Okay. My son, Sydney, at one point this year, because I put him on the AP track because he was bored with his classes, and of course he needs to be on the AP track. Period. They told me, okay, he's going to be able to graduate early. Because in 10th grade, I said, we're going to go to your guidance counselor and see how we can work out your schedule, get it to be more rigorous. And like, oh, that's mass AP. You have to do a special, signature for that. I'm like, great. Where do I sign? So he's got 4 classes. He's acing them out. And when he was running his campaign and also feeling the pressure of class and feeling the pressure of marching band, he's like, can I just go online? Can I do online? I'm like, I'll check. They're like, it's too late. What about next year? Right. So I spoke to the guidance counselor about online school. Online school is a platform, a third-party platform that the school district, uses or purchases. Students log in twice a week for 4 hours. Let's say Tuesday, Thursday from like 4 to 8, right? They can receive direct instruction there, howsoever, right? Of course, they got to get their attendance too, but beyond taking your attendance, if you complete your work asynchronously, you can hand it in as far ahead of time as you would like.
Yeah, there you go.
And you can get whatever grade you earn based off of that, the same amount of credits, and graduate the same way your peers do. Right? That to me is an example of what school should be. And it's also proof. Now, mind you, we've got to look at what, how the same students compare on assessments, like how these kids do on SATs and, state testament and portfolio work and all that compared to those that are in school 5 days a week for, 5 to 6 periods a day. But the point is, it's another model. It's another choice that works. And I do think that the time around us is accelerating, but our model for school and our beliefs around school and what it is and how we're going to ensure that students are mastering, right, content standards and getting smarter, like those are antiquated, So, Charles, off to you.
Oh no, I mean I'm just in the flow of the conversation. I was just saying in general. I agree just with where you guys are coming from, and I get what David was saying. I just made a note though, and I think Toya and I thought about at the same time we start talking about subs, and it was just like, dude, I've been to a ton of schools in my life. never one time in my entire life have I had a life-changing, earth-shattering lesson plan / lecture from a sub, right? Like, that's just not what they do, right? Like, we know what it is when a sub comes in. Hell, the sub trying to survive themselves in some of these schools, right? Like, so, you know, the ecosystem of education can't rest on subs. We know what that's going to be. It's going to be, you know, but just in general, man, I think I get the larger point that y'all that was made is like, look, we can do more in less time, or, you know, it's we're going to say less time because they're not doing a lot of stuff in school. Here's the thing that we're not taking into account for the regular people that's here too, though, right? There's a social contract all around here, right? There's a social contract. The social contract that schools have with communities and parents are, here's a set time where your kid is going to be in school. You need to figure that out. I got to feed them. I got to do whatever. Y'all make me pay for lunch and breakfast. Cool. I'll pay for lunch and breakfast or send them there if we can't get the, you know, but we'll do that. But if all of a sudden, because of AI, we got all this new time, extensively, education should be getting better. And it's not. And it's like, you know, there was a time before there were calculators, and then there were calculators. And it's not that kids in the community have to evolve. Teaching now has to evolve because we have this new tool. We got to make this work now. Oh, we can do more, calculations and computations. You know what? They can learn more then. What else could they be learning? And so it's the job of educators around this world that's like, well, LLM is here. AI is here. This not going anywhere. That's out the tube. What's the new logic look like now? How do we use this as a calculator to actually make a young person go further and think through these things? I just think I just love the conversation, man. I just think there needs to be some kind of basic academic baseline, and we always find ways to shit on that. Not the people here. You know, in Oakland, we had the exit exam, which is ostensibly just saying, I said ostensibly 3 times today. That's the last time I would say it. I'm trying to work in new words a day, but I've done that one. But seriously, like, when you look at this stuff, man, and a basic academic baseline, and you're like, yo, we need you to pass this exit exam just so you can graduate, and it's 7th grade math. It's basic living stuff. I've seen the test. I know David's seen the test, and kids couldn't pass it. And you know what we did? Because adults were complaining, and they felt bad about not having kids ready and not being able to push them through. And then we can't go to their house, and we don't want to talk to them. We can't do it. And we, instead of taking care of doing our social contractual duty, we kowtowed to adults and teachers that was like, this is too hard. We can't get them to pass the exam. So it's like, and I get what Bill's saying, when sometimes they teach you to the test. Listen, if you're teaching to the test and there's a basic academic fucking floor. Now it's me, Omar, right? I'll be the one cursing, but I'm passionate about it because we continuously are. If you don't have money, the only plan in America is get rich, have private school money, have personal tutor money, have an academic parent or an educator parent. Because if you're just out here and you don't know how to navigate, they really don't give a F about your kid, bro. They really don't give a F about your community. And the first sign we get after hearing historical numbers being dropped in reading and math, the next big thing that comes out of y'all's fucking mouth is less days. Are you stupid? Like, not y'all. I love it here. I'm gonna just stop. Because it makes no sense. Yeah. We have over intellectualized.
You're right, man. You're right.
We over intellectualize everything. The larger point, we're so smart. All 4 of us are so smart that we can explain this with terminology and verbiage and data. And common sense has to re-enter the fucking building. Like, these people want another free vacation, and then they're going to strike again in 2 years. They're going to ask for more money in 2 years, and you're going to be reading less and not even as good. Okay, I really am done that time. I am not profound today at all. I'm just
no, man. Here's what's up. We're gonna take them Terminators that we're gonna kill society. We're gonna give them a proper educational software, and the T1800 is gonna come in and teach them kids all them things.
There we have it. But you know what? As you were talking, Charles, I was thinking about, and you probably know this as well as David and Omar, on the charter sector. We'd all agree with you, right? Because one kind of key premise to open a charter school usually is longer school day, longer school
We
year.
make your ass work in a charter school. That's why they don't like charter schools.
I
We
mean,
make you
yes,
work,
but
and
I
we can
think,
fire you.
yes, so I think that's an example of how more time could work if you have high quality teachers, right? Like if you have high quality teachers, you have a strong leader, more time works. If you don't have that, then more time will never work. I think that's it. Like I agree with what you're saying. Like maybe they
Yeah.
are playing in our face a bit in terms of, oh yeah, let's just reduce it, because that's not necessarily solving the key issue, which I think is high quality instruction or the lack thereof, and the fact that if just imagine, right? And I'll give you an example from the other day, right? Sitting in my child's classroom and the teacher's talking about poetry. When do you access the first poetry standard? Sometime in elementary school. My son's in 9th grade. And the teacher says, all right, I want you to take time and write 3 lines of a poem. Make up your own poem. And I'm making this up because I don't remember what trait she was talking about, but go ahead and make a 3-line poem using alliteration. I don't know, right? Then proceeds to give them like 30 minutes to sit there and write 3 lines, 3 in 9th grade. Right? Shit like that is happening all across the world, where it's like you got teachers in early childhood classes that don't know how to teach children how to read. They in there 90 minutes, 120 minutes. At June come, they still can't identify all 26 letters of the alphabet. What are we talking about? So that's what really grinds my gear about this. Like we have enough information to figure out what the main issue is, the key issue to why our children aren't growing, but we're not addressing that. So trying to come around the side and say, oh, well, let's lessen the school day, that doesn't solve it either. But I'm saying I've seen less time, I've seen more time. And the only thing that works no matter which way you go is having solid teachers who know how to teach kids how to do stuff. Reading, writing, math, critical thinking, inferential thinking, all the things. Omar, David, were any of you going to say something before we do whip around for final thoughts? Or Charles?
I don't know, man. I think it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Time for final thoughts. All right, I'll throw it to you, Omar.
It's been the endless debate about what is the purpose of education. And I think I have at least my own answer for that question, because it differs really dependent on like parents' beliefs, ideology, structures. And my thinking is just simple. The brain is a muscle in the way that if we do not exercise it, if we do not develop it, if we do not hone it, it goes into remission. We are seeing that with Gen Z. We are seeing them regress intellectually and educationally. Part of what our moniker at the El Paso Leadership Academy, CRUSH, which is like collaboration, responsibility, we're actually reconfiguring it right now to be unrelenting, to talk about adaptability, because adaptability has been like the one thing kids have been like, dude, this is what you taught me that's worked the most for me. In addition to all that is SMARTS, and SMARTS is about creative problem solving and critical thinking. I don't think that, to go George Carlin, I don't think that this nation wants critical thinkers. Right? I don't think that teachers know how to teach critical thinking, but I do. So I do not think that this is a matter of time. I disagree with Doc on this one and saying it's not time. 8 hours can suck just as much as 2, just as much as 8, just as much as 16. Now, should these teachers work harder and smarter? Hell yeah. Should we get much better instructors in there? Hell yeah. Should we pay them more? Hell yeah. To all the teachers that want to work less, do less, get paid more, I'm with Doc on this one, and I guess he's kind of set us at an R-rated level. So get the fuck out. Just get the fuck out. Get the fuck into, go work at McDowell's and shit, man. I don't know.
Don't even do that to McDowell's and McDonald's. You know why? Because they can make the basic hamburger. You go to any McDonald's in the world, the Big Mac is the Big Mac. I'm sorry.
What about the Big Mick? What about the Big Mick, brother?
Hey, I'm just saying, brother.
We ain't got no sesame seeds on our buns.
If they follow McDonald's, they're great across the globe. I'm sorry. If we were reading great across the globe, and we just like all our people read on the 10th grade level, much
there
better.
you go, ladies
than the
and
4th
gentlemen.
grade.
Doc doesn't even want to send their ass to McDonald's and McDonald's. He want to send their ass to the Spanish Inquisition. That's where I'm at. Let's get significantly more efficient work going on with the hours that we have, but let's use the hours intelligently. Can we give kids the skill sets of collaboration? Can we teach them how to work on multi-level projects over expansive amounts of time, critical thinking, creative problem solving, and deeply increase their literacy, their numerology, their listening and speaking skills so that they are productive members of a global society? I'm in on that. If you ain't down with that, I do have 2 words for you. Just ask DX. Someone got that. All right. I'm a wrestling fan. It's out there.
I think not to repeat anything that's already been said, but what I'm thinking about now is, we're seeing declining enrollment happen. I think there's a lot of different reasons for declining enrollment, but I think what's going to accelerate declining enrollment is if our big districts and systems don't change the way that they've been doing business. And people have to understand, like, if you work at a particular school in Los Angeles, a district school that exists within the Los Angeles Unified School District, that operates within the California Department of Education, which is also tied to the national federal Department of Education. Education is so bureaucratic, and it is like, try ordering like pencils or student supplies or this. You have to go out. They have to use approved vendors, and everything takes forever. What we're talking about here is like a fundamental redesign of systems that have been entrenched for 100 years. And so I think when you're talking about school systems that are making an operational shift to go from 5 to 4 days, I just feel like that's not student-centered. I think it's taking the easy way out, and they're not solving a problem. Mm-hmm. And I think what needs to happen now is we need courageous leaders. We need courageous state superintendents of instruction. We need courageous superintendents, school leaders to lean into this issue. And it's really a design problem. It's a design challenge. It's nothing that's impossible to solve, because we do have certain systems out there that are actually doing it. You talked about the online option for your son. I'm like, these are things that people can implement, right? Internship based learning, yes. Proficiency based learning, dual enrollment with colleges and universities, any number of things. So it's out there, but I just think if school systems, it kind of feels like we're about to fall off another cliff, where parents are starting to wake up, and young people are starting to wake up and see and what happens when the young people wake up one day and say, this modern day structure of K-12 education looks a lot more like the prison system than it does anything else that's going to prepare us for the real world. You walk up to these big buildings with fences and this and that, and it's like, they move kids around kind of like, okay, A block's open, D block closed, gates are opening, gates are shutting. I think maybe it'll take an uprising from the youth to get restless, to maybe see some change. Yeah, shout out Bad Brains.
Dude, great band.
I'm coming to you, Charles. I'm just shouting out our viewers. Bill, Kiana, Warren, thanks for tuning in. We have the real Nikki J, Alonzo. Thank you for participating in the chat, and thanks for tuning in. I'm doing mine quick, then I'm coming to you, Charles, and then we can wrap it up. So I want to answer the question, what should define a full education year time or outcomes? I think it's both. And I think that some of these debates are really distractions / scapegoats. I'm going back to the example with me sitting in my son's classroom, right? One thing I think is a scapegoat is chronic absenteeism. The kids are not coming to school. When I go to school, they look like there be kids in there. It look like the kids be coming to school. And so I get it, right? We've experienced a lot of, chronic absenteeism, especially post-COVID. But what are we doing when the kids are actually coming they come to school? More kids come to school than not. What are we doing with those that are in the building? Are they meeting their goals? Are they mastering standards? Are they becoming smarter day by day? I cannot say yes, right? The other scapegoat, social media, right? Again, sitting in my child's classroom, noticing the lack of rigor, lack of engagement. And to your earlier point, Charles, like, okay, it's fine. We don't need teachers to tap dance and all of that and wear like clown makeup, but like teach, engage, you know what I mean? And I think that's what is missing. So I think we, in the education landscape, there's a bunch of things that get scapegoated, right? And that's the reason why kids aren't learning. And that's the reason why kids aren't growing. And that's the reason why this generation is less brilliant than the previous generation. It's all these things. But when you go into the crux of the education landscape, which is the classroom, ain't nothing going on at the Ritz. And again, shout out to all of my high quality instruction teachers that be preparing, that plan rigorous questions, that engage, scholars every day. Like, thank you. But that's not what we see most of the time in a lot of classrooms. So I'll start there. And then I say time and outcomes, because how do you measure outcome without time? So that's why I think it is both. You should know, understand, and be able to do these things, these sets of skills by this time. To your point, Charles, about what's the basic understanding, the basic expectation from this grade level, right? And then we use that to determine what a teacher's output should be. Those that get results, those things that I just mentioned are present, in that. So with that, I'll go to Charles. Yeah.
I think it was a great show, great episode. This is one of those I do wish we had 2 or 3 hours to do. I think we should revisit it. Great job, Jube. I'm glad I was able to make it to this conversation. I think the points that all of you made were just incredible, and I don't disagree with any of them. I actually agree with what you said, Omar. I don't think you actually disagree with me at all. What I'm saying,
we're on the same page, baby.
Yeah. I just want to make it I just want to make it clear for the people listening, right? Because again, the reason why the show is beautiful is because different from A Black Hands, where we all worked in different kind of fields, but we kind of came together and it was this black man, but all of us a different thing. The conversations flow different. This one is different conversations because everybody here outside of me are academic like experts, especially at leading schools. So what happens is we take topics and we're going to go very insider baseball. And so one of the things that I think you guys said was great, and I want to bridge it to just normal people, right? And I think where normal people are like, I hear all that logic. I got to zoom out though, because when we say there's so much time, like this is how a normal person's hearing it. We suck at education. We suck at school and poverty and all this stuff. And then you hear we have so much time in the school building. We actually need to give them an extra day out of school. And then you hear, well, there's a teacher shortage. But then you hear, well, in a traditional public school, let's say Omar just got through playing for the A's. No, let's say David played for them damn San Diego Padres. Okay, let's say he played for them Padres. That before they, when they lost to the Cubs, right? But if David, let's say David was a math genius and was a retired player for that team, he could go to a Catholic school. He can go to a university. And they could be like, hey, David, if you're free, man. Would you like to you can, since you did math before, we'd like to teach math and maybe coach our baseball team or teach a sports entrepreneurship class. Catholic schools can do it. Charter schools can do it. Universities can do it. Community colleges can do it. Your kids' traditional school down the street can't do it without a whole bunch of, if we're in a teacher's shortage. A friend of mine,
Crazy.
Dr. Steve, friend of mine, I just did a show, but he had a WNBA Hall of Famer who just wanted extra stuff to do, who was also super smart and loved his school. He gave a talk somewhere, and she said, yo, I love to give my time for like a day or two. I love to have a class. You know what I'm saying? And he's talking to the people, and they're like, well, we got to get her this and that. And she could hear, he like takes her off speakerphone, and he's like, did you hear the credentials that I just told you? Like, we're not gonna have this conversation right now. Let's go figure it out. They have to turn away that level of genius. But then we'll talk about a teacher shortage. And then even with the sub thing, I've had a ton of cool subs. I had subs that were great and with school culture, but no sub for the most part is like, I'm about to go give the best fucking to these kids.
Man, what about that sub that wants to teach poetry to Tupac?
It depends on what principal. It depends on what, because I saw somebody put that in the chat, and I have to say I've had some good subs in my building as a principal because it's what I required. If you come one day, you want some BS, you out of here. I'm not inviting you back. And also, if you're going to sub here, it's not going to be no floating on the float.
But y'all are great. Listen, you and Kiana, I've been to Kiana School, by the way. It's one of the greatest schools systems in all of Indiana. It's incredible. It runs like a university. I'm not talking about Jubilee. I'm not talking about Kiana. I'm not talking about Omar. I'm not talking about David. We're talking about the vast majority of people in this country that have, when you know it's a sub, you know it's going to be movie day, fuck around day. Mm-hmm. This is what I get to talk to that girl day. I'm going to play cards in the back. What I'm saying is that we're very smart and we can always pull out a good example of people because we know competent ass people. We know smart people. But in the ether, we got to deal with the ether. The numbers suck and they're going down. The teaching numbers suck and they're going down. At the same time, this union is acting like all these unions, and I'm not an anti-union person. I live in a union town, but I'm so sick of the teachers union right now. I'm sorry, because this is what happens when they run unchecked, and these are the conversations that we're having. So again, I'm going into a whole different conversation. I just think that it was from a lay person, not lame, but I'm lame right now. It's fine. I'm a little lame. But from a lay person, even the quip that I made about McDonald's, you can have as many jokes about McDonald's as you want, right? But the way that McDonald's runs the company is the backbone of capitalism. I know a lot of people don't like capitalism, but that car, that Ford McDonald's model, like, at the very least, you can go to the shittiest McDonald's, but you know that the fucking cheeseburgers don't have the same ingredients everywhere. What I'm saying is we can't even talk shit about McDonald's here when you can go to 10 different schools and a third grade reading paper looks 8,000 different ways. There's no standard, and we're going to pay for it as a country. Not necessarily David, who's smart, not necessarily Jubilee or her kids, who has Jubilee in the house, pushing them and supporting them to run for office, not Omar or Kiana, who are these innovative, super smart, incredible administrators that will stand up and speak truth to power. I'm talking about the 85% of kids in traditional public schools that don't have that. It's not promised to them. And this is the conversation that's being had on their behalf. That's the show is great. We're great. But you get what I'm saying? And we're going to blame students. We're going to blame, they're finding ways to blame parents, finding ways to blame subs. I'm not blaming a sub for nothing. It's a sub. Nobody in their life at 10 years old, they say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be the greatest substitute teacher of all fucking time. It's not a thing.
But I'm not blaming subs. I'm just saying if the sub is out of control, don't call me because my kid did something.
Don't call me. That's right, David.
I agree with David, Omar, Kiana, and you. I agree with all of us is what I'm saying. We're not blaming subs.
No,
I'm saying when we push back on the union, when we say, yo, we got to raise standards, we got to raise this, they will say, well, we got a teacher crisis. And the subs can't, we got a teacher crisis because I just showed you one of the biggest rules. You can have the greatest educator in your town. If they don't have the credentials, you can't pick them up. But bad teachers that do pass the credentials can be in the rubber room.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying.
And I know I killed the conversation. I'm so sorry. It's just we always
the whole point of this podcast.
This is the show.
We're not going to apologize for our own show.
I know, but I love it. I love this conversation, and I have to figure out a way. We have to figure out a way as a team, right? Like, how do we get to this? Like, just all of us, me too, because like this is where you hit that goal. This is where people listening are like, that makes a lot of sense. Why are they talking about changing my full work schedule and how I pick up my kids and do work? We have a social contract. Are they trying to cut out a day and hours? Like, I'm a single mom. You already said that I don't provide this and that for my kid. Now you changing the schedule. What I'm because your union, this is a great show, Jube. It was. I haven't been passionate in a minute. Maybe I'm
Dynamite.
tired. I don't know, man. It's just frustrating. This is, and people be like, why you focus on agency, like instead of like literacy or this? This is why, because you really on your fucking own, and that's the conversation they having at the White House. And you gotta know. You shouldn't have to know, but you gotta know. And it just is what it is.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, it was lovely.
Blah.
You have tuned to the South Star Classroom. I'm Jubilee. That's David Castillo. That's Omar Yanar. And that is the Dr. Charles Cole III. Tune in every single week on Tuesdays, 3 p.m., 6 p.m. You figure out the times. We love y'all. Peace.
Y'all have a good one, man.
Take care.
I ain't mean to take y'all long. That was a good show.
No, don't apologize.
I'm gonna write something on it. I need to.
I also do color commentary on it.